starts like any other game really. You're casually boarding the train, waiting for your stop to come until... Welcome to the rabbit hole. You wake up inside the train except it's snowing, then a girl breaks through on a motorcycle, tries to hit on you, then gives you a jacket with bunny ears, and off you go. The tutorial explains itself very well considering it's 2D and the controls can only be so complicated, and after killing a couple of enemies, which I did flawlessly by the way, without even taking the slightest bit of damage, you decide to jump down even further into the rabbit hole. And you are welcomed into the first level. The whole gameplay revolves in you passing room by room and checking what matter of creature or monster, probably food-based, is going to assault you today. I always hate the ones that run up to you personally to get close and personal, because despite the fact that I enjoy using the bat more than the guns, this game suffers from 2D game disease and it has contact damage, so you die instantaneously from getting touched. Hey, I got an achievement though. You may not believe me when I tell you this because the game looks very simple, and it kind of is. You are going to die a lot. It doesn't help the fact that my computer is somehow lagging this game, but just the fact that your dodge is completely unreliable. Like sometimes it saves you from everything and sometimes you just end up rolling into an attack. Not that I am complaining though, the simple gameplay has a lot of polish and a very addicting factor to it. It's just kind of fun to run around, avoid attack and shoot enemies. It's very simple, but it excels at what it does because it's high quality in everything it tries. The entire layout of the level is randomly generated, but there are several random events that you can find in rooms. For example, you can get a chest which gives you a random weapon. It might be something incredibly powerful to take your run to the next level, or immediately let you down and lead you to your death. Ignore the quality of my footage, I really do enjoy this game. I find it, as I said previously, incredibly polished in everything it attempts. The combat feels fluid and responsive when it is at its best, and even at its worst, when you are being absolutely punished, it still feels like there was something you could have done better. There are nearly no glitches or errors, at least none that I have seen, and the game really does excel at giving you that roguelike feel of random generated chaos. I mean, the rooms are already randomly generated, but with the immense variety of weapons and all of the unique gimmicks, it's even more so, with every run essentially feeling like its own unique thing. Each weapon has their advantages and their disadvantages, which means you can't just evade every attack and aim at the enemy and win. For example, the basketball does more damage if you bounce it around the wall before hitting the enemy with it. So instead of aiming at the enemy, the strategy is to aim somewhere where you think the ball will bounce off of and then hit the enemy. You can't just do what I did here and stand still and hope that the enemy will die before they get you. I may have complained quote-unquote about this earlier, but I really do enjoy how no way of dodging, either the dodge roll or jumping or moving around, is truly without risk. It makes every decision you take impactful, because what if you dodge and you end up dodging into another attack or into the enemy, which happens a lot because of contact damage. It won't be long, however, until you come face to face with the first boss. You may not believe me, but this is actually incredibly hard for me for some reason. Even after a lot of tries that I got recording all of this footage and learning her patterns to a T, I just can't wrap my head around the way you have to dodge some of her moves, so I always end up taking an unnecessary amount of damage, if not just dying to her. It's a cool design though. Flowery woman with a sword. She lunges after you and throws projectiles and beams. The great problem with her is that since she's always moving towards you, you are bound to get hit by contact damage eventually. From walking into her trying to start a roll, rolling into her avoiding one of her attacks. It's just endless pain. Eventually though, she is defeated. She rewards you with a weapon as random as any of the others you obtain towards your run, and you are awarded access to the second level. Logically, the only stage that can follow a train station. The sewers. I mean, I guess that explains the rats. Turns out the enemies in this level are of course significantly more difficult than the ones in stage 1, so get ready to die and get ready to be sent back to the very beginning. And that's the gameplay cycle, but it's surprisingly fun just because of the core mechanics being so polished and entertaining. You appear at the first stage, you get one or more cool weapons, maybe some buffs, then you try your hand at Magnolia. You either die to her or you get barely past her, where the enemies in stage 2 will proceed to completely decimate you. Along the way, however, you'll meet a colorful and expansive cast of side characters that'll add extra goods and services to spice up your run, like the ghosts in the fountain that heal you, or the shopkeeper that sells you weapons, buffs, and books that contain lore elements. I'll talk more on that later, but you can tell this is the same girl from the beginning because she tries flirting with you even when you are broke. There is this interesting lady that also sells stuff, but instead of selling stuff for money, she sells stuff for hearts, taking from your permanent HP. which sounds like it would completely ruin you, and it kinda does, but like, look at her. No, don't worry about it. There's a guy with a slot machine, because of course there's a guy with a slot machine. Every game I play has to have gambling in some way, shape, or form. And while some will argue that a roguelite by itself is kind of just gambling, me, I take it straight to the core. I failed once, I failed twice, but 99% of gamblers quit right before they hit it big. And you know what they say, 3 times the charm. Pure gambling skill, baby. There's also this cafe that serves as another alternative shop, but it does use money also, except you get food instead of guns and assortments. The other shop also sells healing items, so I never find myself buying from this bunny girl, sadly. There's this music machine ran by this girl that gives weapons that I've also never bought from because I always get weapons from chests and the like. There's this double looking fella that offers you the worst deals you'll ever hear in your entire life. I'm sure he's just here to increase the challenge. I've never gotten something that's like strictly good. It's always like, you're gonna die if you take this deal, but like 2 more damage, okay? So I did end up sacrificing one of my hearts, but it was for a kitty plushie, who couldn't? It also does a lot of damage somehow. Getting to stage 2, I found this crab on a miserable lifestyle, stuck on a platform too far above, and its AI wasn't capable of letting it simply walk to one of the edges so it could get down because it tried to follow me. So I kindly let it follow me to the edge so it could be free instead of being trapped there forever, proposing no challenge. For you ask, yes, this immense act of kindness did cost me the run. By now I would have ended most reviews, but I had a challenge with this, something I couldn't give up on. I had an objective, a goal. I needed to see what the hell the stage 2 boss was, because this game was simply too difficult, and after hours of playing I still hadn't seen what it was. And for some reason I was immensely curious. So I guess whilst you're seeing my journey to get there, I'll comment on you on factors other than the gameplay. I may not have been talking about it at all or doing it much justice, but this game does have a lore that I have ever so gracefully skipped on so you can experience it all by yourself. It has books, it has dialogue, a whole slew of collectibles that you can go out of your way to get to learn even more about the game's story, which I believe would be most enjoyable if you did it yourself. Also, other characters that I didn't show, and I'll leave those to be discovered by yourself because I'm sure you'll have fun seeing them. So found this gun, which is a gun. Also found Kirby's Star Rod in the shop, and I'm wondering if this is even legal to do. Game has a very chibi, minimalist art style that still manages to be very cool and effective, although I might be biased because I've always preferred pixels over models. Don't at me. The game's music, which you've been listening the entire video, probably without noticing, is very classic feeling. It has that arcade feel. The game overall does great strides to resemble the old pixelated 2D games of, actually there's somehow a good chance you weren't even alive back then, never mind. When it needs you relaxed, the music makes you relaxed. When it needs you cozy, the music gets you cozy, and when it needs you pumped up full of energy and ready for battle, it does just that as well. One thing I haven't showcased at all is the sound design other than the music, which is also very effective, although by now I've grown disillusioned hearing the sound effect that plays every time you get hit. After 3 hours of attempts, I had made it with a good set of weapons. All that stood between me and seeing what the boss of stage 2 really was all about was a single room of enemies, which I cleared without any further difficulty. And now, to see what I've been waiting for. 2 girls with a tank in the middle of the sewers. Of course, that makes sense. As anyone could have seen coming, I died instantly because of the sheer amount of space on the screen that was just filled with danger. At least it's a Newgrounds reference, I guess, but what the fuck? Sorry to disappoint, but I have yet to get anywhere past that, and that's as much as rabbit hole as I can show you, really. I recommend nabbing it up because, and I don't know why I always save this for the end of the review. It's completely free, like most games I review, either that or extremely cheap. So there's no risk, you know. Just go to the Steam shop, find the rabbit hole, download it, and join me in this endless world of suffering. Oh my god! Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you like the video. You know how it is. I have plenty of reviews of games just like this one that could interest you, and more upcoming, alongside somewhat tangentially related video game content.